In this bulletin, Army officers discharged for breach. Kandavu containment area announced. And over 170 Fijians for overseas jobs.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Good afternoon, Fiji. 18 personnel of the Republic of Fiji military forces have been discharged after breaching quarantine protocols. Minister for Defence and National Policing Inia Seriratu highlighted in Parliament that there is also one pending case yet to go through the disciplinary process. Seriratu also explained that the issue about the soldier involved in the alleged breach of protocol that led to the initial outbreak of the Delta variant was thoroughly investigated by the RFMF. Seriratu says the RFMF commander has since then asked the Ministry of Health to correct their initial statement of the alleged breach by the soldier and conduct another full investigation.
All health workers, they remain within the facility. All soldiers, they remain within the facility. Not the hotel staff. They go home every day. That is why we need that proper investigation rather than blaming the RFMF. I hope that that can be cleared.
Seriratu has assured that there are also standard operating procedures and processes of investigation to deal with future breaches, if any. Currently, there are a total of 134 RFMF personnel who are on quarantine enforcement duties, looking after over 900 individuals in these facilities. Herd immunity is needed to reduce the possibility of developing new variants. Vaccination to achieve herd immunity remains the key for the Ministry of Health in reducing the possibility of developing new variants domestically. Fiji records 500 to 600 COVID cases per day with an average of 8 to 10 daily deaths. The Minister for Health, Dr. Ifremi Wangainambete, says this is a worrying trend for the Ministry of Health for the possibility of mutation. The ministry is adamant that herd immunity will be achieved by the end of October.
I know it's not possible. If you can get nearly 100% of everyone in Fiji vaccinated, that argues well in terms of protecting health and also minimizing the spread and the rising of other variants that happens in places where the virus lingers for a long period of time.
A 14-day containment zone will be established for the Ngasele nursing zone in Kandavu. Permanent Secretary for Health, Dr. James Fong, says this is to localize the disease to the nursing zone area for the incubation period of 14 days. This will also help the ministry to monitor incidents and disease trends in the lockdown area within this period. Dr. Fong says the movement between the 7 villages in the containment zone is to be restricted to reduce further spread. He says home quarantine of the primary contacts will be enforced and contact tracing of primary and secondary contacts will continue. The Permanent Secretary says identification and monitoring of vulnerable persons will be initiated and strengthened. A clinical scouting team will be deployed over the weekend to Wunisea to map out a plan to escalate clinical care capability and strengthen care access, especially to the identified vulnerable persons. 175 Fijians have been selected to leave our shores in the next few months to fulfill labour needs in Australia under the Pacific Labour Scheme. Employment Minister Pravin Kumar says this next batch of workers was supposed to depart Fiji in October. However, it has been deferred due to the rising COVID cases in New South Wales. Kumar says these selected workers are fully vaccinated, giving confidence to the employer in Australia. He adds as COVID cases are escalating in parts of Australia and New Zealand, the Employment Ministry is working around the clock to ensure the welfare issues of Fijian workers are identified and managed.
The employer has also confirmed that these 128 PLS workers are entitled to apply for the New South Wales disaster relief payment of 750 Australian per person.
The Taliban has called on Afghanistan's imams to urge unity when they hold their first Friday prayers since the Islamist group seized control of the country. This as protests against the takeover spread to more cities, including the capital, Kabul. And to our latest COVID-19 update for today. Fiji recorded 781 new COVID-19 infections for the period ending at 8 a.m. yesterday. 626 cases are from the Western Division and 154 are from the Central and 1 from the Eastern Division. The Ministry of Health also recorded 8 new COVID-19 deaths for the period of August 15th to the 19th. 6 deaths were from the Central Division and 2 deaths were from the Western. Fiji has recorded 42,541 cases since April this year. There are now 22,494 active cases in isolation, with 20,677 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll now stands at 421. The vaccination campaign also continues around the country. As of yesterday, 539,555, or 92% of the population, have received their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 223,987, or 38.2%, have received their second dose. The 5 most vaccinated areas include Ba, Rewa, Nadrongai, Naitasiri, which are now 100% first jabbed, and then Nandi. Up ahead, Kerevi joins Wallabies camp, and Takayawa helps judokas. Welcome back. Fiji-born Samu Kerevi counts himself blessed to be back in the Wallabies camp after his return from his Olympic outing in Tokyo, Japan. Kerevi, who last played for the Wallabies in 2019, has joined camp and started training with the squad ahead of its 3rd Bledisloe Cup test in Perth. The 27-year-old says he is grateful to be able to contribute and be part of the group with a wide range of gifted players.
To get as much knowledge as I can these next couple of days, and just push each other, push the centers, push our group in a positive way, and impact the group in a positive way. And wherever that leads, I'll be happy with. So my first thing is just what's ahead of me today, and when we head into the test week, we'll see how that goes.
The Commonwealth Games is next on the checklist, and Olympian Diabita Takayawa has set his eyes on a spot alongside other Team Fiji athletes. Despite the pandemic, athletes are improvising in preparations with the unavailability of most training venues. Takayawa says the only option now is for training venues to be available if they want to send a strong team next year. He says that he continues to help out younger aspiring athletes through his social media platforms.
So the thing that I could do from my side is just show that I'm being active and working hard from my side, so that I could, because most of the time, most of the athletes from Fiji, they message me and stuff and ask me about things. So I'm always active and I always reply to them. And that's the only thing I could do from my side.
United Arab Emirates announced their arrival at the Beach Soccer World Cup in Russia with a stunning 4-3 victory over 2-time finalists Tahiti. Tahiti scored first, but UAE ensured they will not be a pushover in the tournament. Melbourne Storm defeated Titans 34-16 to record their 19th consecutive victory at Cbus Super Stadium last night. Melbourne kicked off to a slow start, but eventually held the Titans down to the end. A trough of low pressure to the northeast of Fiji is expected to affect the northeastern parts of the country tomorrow. That's FBC News now. Join us again for our 1-hour major bulletin at 7 p.m. And be sure to download the FBC app to access the latest in news, sports, and live radio broadcasts from any of our 6 FBC radio stations. Good afternoon and have a safe weekend ahead.